good? How do I know how close?
Yeah, you're good. Any distance.
That'll be fine.
The recording's over there, so you can kind of see your levels.
Oh, yeah.
But
do we need to clap?
No. I don't think so.
It always helps me when I'm like...
Yeah.
All right.
Well...
Where are we looking?
Podcast, take 2. You can look at me.
It's weird.
It's just... No, it's not.
You're looking at yourself.
Well, I want to make sure we got a good video over there.
I'm over here like...
The point is that we're here for the viewers, not for...
we're not for each other.
No, I'm just kidding. There's no viewers. Anyways.
There's no viewers.
So we are here for podcast number 2. The first one broke some records.
Ooh.
At least 3 listeners.
Can you tell?
I can tell. So if you haven't listened and you said you did, I know you didn't. So just remember that.
John, and we have them by name.
Dad, Mom, Lindsay.
Mom.
Becky, maybe?
No.
Sorry.
No chance.
I didn't want to assume anything. Garrison?
That's horrible. No.
I've got it auto replaying in the basement just to kick
smart.
up some of the streams, but that's all good.
That's really smart.
Well, this is the Shaw Brothers podcast. We are very stupid, and so if you're into that kind of thing, this is your one-stop shop for that. Just going to talk about stupid crap, and we have had one podcast so far, so if you haven't listened to that, please do. We are working on our little area that we're doing this at, so it looks better. It's probably echoey in here too, so I apologize, but we'll take care of that at some point. Our album's out now, Blood Harmony, so make sure you're streaming that and saving that and following what we're doing.
It's metal.
Yeah.
Blood Harmony. Somebody was like, that sounds like a metal.
Yeah, well, Blood Rain, we could have done that. Blood
Rain.
Harmony sounded good.
Bloodbath.
Yeah. People don't know what blood harmony is. It's shocking. It's when two relatives sing together. That's blood harmony. So it sounds like you're singing with yourself. So anyways, that's Chris's naming, and I like the name a lot. We went over that in the last podcast. Yeah. So anyways, I wanted to talk on this podcast because the first one, I felt like we didn't get enough from Chris. So tell us what you're doing. Especially with move your music forward, your own music, all that stuff.
Trying to get the nonprofit together.
Which is called?
Move Your Music Forward.
Yeah.
Trying.
There's a link in this podcast if you want to see what that's about.
We did a workshop on just kind of the recording process. So my friend Keto Denham is a music producer, and he he kind of told us about his process. It's about offering perspectives on what the music business is. So just kind of trying to like just provide resources and really just like break down the barriers of like, what this whole thing is. Try not to create too much of a hierarchy, but like also like this guy knows what he's doing. He's been at it for a long time.
Yeah.
So
what's your like basic kind of mission statement with it? Like if you would sum it up in a couple 2 or 3 sentences.
Well, the elevator pitch is to empower musicians to take their craft to the next level. Mm-hmm. And then we also take those musicians into working with underserved communities. So we're trying to write songs with senior citizens. We're doing that. And we've done that for like
That's
3 sessions. And then my goal is to pay those musicians to do that. So I've been able to do that once so far. And that's been really great.
That's great. And Dad's involved in that too. Our dad, Jim Shaw. Right?
Yep, exactly.
He's doing some of the helping with some of the senior centers and things like that. And
yeah, he's great.
Which is great. I think it's awesome. Music is like for these, especially these seniors. It sounds like it like opens up a whole bit of their memory or pathways that maybe are dormant a little bit more at their age.
It's interesting because they're the certain generation. They're not really opening up.
They don't express. Expression isn't like super.
So it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're not that generation. That's our dad's generation, right? And then
yeah, it's a little interesting. So I don't know. There's like water you have to tread because you're like, do we get really deep with this person? Because
you don't want to make people feel
get too hard.
Yeah, but music is healing too, and it's like if it opens up some pathways they didn't even know they had. That's it's like the Alzheimer thing. Like music always like kind of brings back memory, or not always, but I've heard that it can bring back memory for people.
Yeah, it's been proven.
Which is pretty cool to think about.
Well, one woman, it's kind of interesting because I think Dad, he tends to be more on the positive side, and we were writing a song with this woman, and we're writing about memories and a fun trip. And then this woman was like, I think she had written down notes, and it was something like really sad. I was like, let's go into that.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really cool. I'm trying to remember what the chorus ended up being kind of sad.
Oh, wow.
But it was great. Ended up being kind of healing.
It is great. It's like, I mean, like, you know, those are such an unappreciated, undervalued group of people, older people, you know, and they can get forgotten and lost, and you know they have all these great stories and experiences in life, and it's like, where do they put them? Where do they go? You know,
Right.
Are they telling their story? I think when our grandparents, well, or at least on our dad's side, when our grandma passed, when she was getting older, he started recording her stories, which I thought was just such a great way to stay connected to your history. Because I mean, once your family passes on, it's like that's gone. There's no record. There's no biography. Nobody's writing biographies.
I know.
So
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so songwriting is a great tool for that, I feel like, too, you know?
Yeah.
A little insight to some of these people's lives and what they've experienced.
Yeah, and one of the guys has already passed away, so it's like, jeez,
sad, yeah.
like we got that. Luckily, we got that song.
Yeah, that's great.
And
are you
then-
connecting that with the family, too?
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
The next step. We
'Cause
have
I'm
it.
sure that's amazing for them.
And then, what was the other one? Oh, like the perspective, like the woman played basketball, and she's like, yeah, we didn't have women's sports.
Wow.
And we're like, huh?
That's
so
crazy.
you're like, well, fighting for rights. It's like, okay, well, look at the progress we've made.
Yeah. Totally
This
crazy.
woman's alive.
Totally crazy. Yep.
And the other woman was, she ended up being, her husband passed away, and she said, just the roles of the life. Like, I was at the home, I took care of the kids. That was it.
Yep.
So it's like, people,
Man.
you have to be able to look at how far we've come.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah,
progression.
totally. And those people have lived through that change, which is even more exciting. Like, it's like, boy, like, what have we've lived through some things, but man,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Well,
equal
and the
rights,
technology,
and
too.
women's rights, and cell phone, like no wires. What?
Yeah. And some of them are on there. They're online and they're on Facebook
that's
and
awesome.
stuff.
I love that. That's great.
But it's interesting because,
yeah,
they're like on their phones, like trying to figure it out. But hey,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah.
to. We're going to be like that.
yep,
So
yep. Well, we'll be like we'll have the brain camera at that point.
Right.
The brain phone. It's like blink left.
right.
That's 2 9s, not 1 2.
Yeah, the
Or
password.
whatever it'll be, some kind of weird crap. Yeah. That will be like, what is this? Nonsensical.
I know. I'm already like that.
Yeah. Technology moves quick. I tell you what, folks. That's why you're here on this.
Sponsored by
Sponsored by us.
Google. Thanks, Google, for making our life better.
Sponsored by us taking 6 hours to set up for a 1 hour podcast. When we get the robots in here, that's what we're going for.
This isn't bad. It wasn't bad.
No, it's not
like
too
an
bad.
hour.
It took an hour. Okay, that's not bad. So
Fair.
just remember, hard work here. The work behind the scenes, arduous efforts.
And our producers over here. Hey, guys. You're looking good over there. Chad, Reggie.
Actually, we should have gotten Ty Landrum over here.
Team.
He could have helped us out.
He's looking through the window right now over his fence.
Oh, well. Yeah, he is my, what's the guy from home?
Wilson.
Yeah, he's my Wilson. I do see him sometimes over there. Oh, man.
What gigs did you have this week?
Well, let's see. What did I have this week? We played at Rambling, on Rambling House.
I was there.
On Wednesday. You were there, obviously, with Andy Shaw Band. That was a lot of fun. Opening for Flogo Shaggins. Check them out if you haven't checked them out. They're really good. A bunch of people we've known forever, like Alex Burgoyne and Tom Davis, just old friends. So that was a lot of fun. And Seth.
They were great.
They were great. And then I was off Thursday. Friday, I ran sound with Shaw House Productions at Dank House for a cool band called Drifting Roots. They are from Florida. I can't remember. I think it's Melbourne, but I'm probably wrong about that. And I know there's 3 members in that band, and the bassist is from Chicago, the singer is from Florida, and the drummer for this gig was from California. So they're from Florida. That's where they're based out, though. So they're really great. They're playing like Reggae Rise Up and all those kinds of festivals. And then, then this. celebrated Easter, and then here we are.
It's not a big slate there. I thought you had more.
No. You know, I keep it chill.
I played a wedding.
Yeah, how was that?
It's good.
Did they? Is it going to be like that couple that we played 4 years ago, where we met the guy at the bar?
Oh God!
At 7th Sun, he's like, "Hey, you played my wedding." I said,
like,
"Oh yeah."
No idea who you are.
How are you guys doing? He's like, "Well, we're divorced now."
Oh, or the people I don't know who they are at all.
Yeah.
Not that that's ever happened.
No, it happens. It happens.
It's just because we play so much.
We play a lot,
and a lot of weddings, and you really don't meet. I mean,
yeah.
you know, sometimes you don't. I didn't meet them at all.
Yeah,
this time
that happens, and it's like,
we were trying to get better at meeting them beforehand, having actual connection. But yeah, I mean, this time around,
we're about that. That's the thing about Shaw Brothers. It's like, you know, I feel like over the last 15 or whatever many years it's been that we've been doing this, like the one connecting thing for us has always been that us connected to the people that we're serving music for. Like, and the way I mean that is, you know, a lot of musicians, when you, I guess, on certain levels, have the ability to be a little more disconnected from their community and the people that they're playing for, performing for. But part of just who we are, you know, being Shaws or whatever, we like people, we like that communication, we like that socialization. So we want to be connected with the couple too, because it makes our life and our job more fulfilling. And hopefully it makes the couple's wedding feel more, you know, not just, hey, who's the guy playing guitar in the corner? It's
right.
Like,
I don't want to be
we've met with them, we know them, we've had conversations, whatever it might be,
yeah,
on whatever level it is. But that's really important to us. And I know that, you know, there have been some corporate companies and things like that do weddings around, you know, anywhere you go, you have that. And it's hard for, like, anytime I've tried to work with that, it's hard. It's a challenge because it does strip away some of that personalization. And that is, for me, with weddings, that's like kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, the technology allows us to all be disconnected. So,
yeah.
You know, this particular one, it was online, and that we emailed, and then we got to figure it out, and then I got there, and I'm
so
like,
what I'm saying is, no,
right?
No.
But I was just like, I didn't even meet these people, but
yeah,
I made sure to follow up, like, thank you so much.
Yep.
Awesome. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You can't really avoid it sometimes, but
no, you can't avoid it, and but you got
to skirt around it.
Yeah, you just gotta, and you know that's how we are with like all aspects of music. You know, I don't, you know, we're not selling out arenas for a reason, you know, like we like to be connected to our audience. And having that, like when we have a show, like I'm trying to literally, if I'm not selling you the ticket physically, it's like, you know, odd, you know, but not saying, what I'm saying is that like, if somebody's buying a ticket online, that is like exciting, but I just assume I'm going to have a conversation with you and sell you a ticket, you know?
Right.
Which is just different. And yeah, it's the way we like to do it. We do have a show coming up April 18th at Woodlands Tavern with Rockstead and Friends with Elephants. Rockstead is a great reggae touring act from Cincinnati. And Jake is just, the lead singer, Jake, is a awesome dude, awesome musician. And we've seen him for I'd say at least the last decade, hustling, and like just the music is just taking off and getting better and better and better every time I hear him. So anyways, if you're not doing anything, we're direct support for Rockstead on that night. And I will have tickets, and there will be a link in this podcast if you want to buy them without having me to chase you down.
And Ethan
is going to be opening up with his band Friends with Elephants, a really great local act that's on the rise here in town. And he hosts an open mic as well, like I do, and we're doing what we can do.
Yeah, we do the song share.
The song share.
Last Tuesday of every month at the Summit,
Tell
which is right before Ethan's open mic. So Ethan will pop in, and you know, the song share is part of the nonprofit, just gathering community and just hanging out. It's for free thing. Just come and play.
What time is that?
6 to 8 every last Tuesday. But the last month it was canceled. But so even more, you know, motivation to get out. But Ethan's popped in, and everyone's always like, that guy's a great writer. So it's kind of fun to see that, because you just don't know. Like you don't know. And the song share is a good example of like kind of a breaking down some of the barriers because there's no performance. We're just playing to each other. So
Yeah.
I can really hear people's like real comments about that stuff. Like
And that's part of moving music forward, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
But yeah, he's he's a good guy. He hosts open mic, and his band is really cool. He's got a lot of cool songs.
That's awesome.
It's very different.
We're just so on that note, if you're looking for music, we're looking to play it. I was looking at my schedule the other day. I'm like, man, we're getting busy. That's how it always happens. It's like the summer comes around. You're like, oh, okay, here it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're playing at the Bridge Park.
Oh yeah.
Series.
Great.
It'll be a small version of quartet, 5 to 7. No, yeah, 5 to 7. Thursday, May 16th at Bridge Park, Dublin.
Awesome. That's a good little free concert, right?
Yeah, Columbus Arts Fest. We're both playing that.
When are you playing?
The 8th, June 8th, 3:15.
Cool.
And Andy Shaw Band is
June 7th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. And then a couple like local roots. I think we're playing the Westerville Arts thing too, which will be kind of cool.
Awesome. That's great.
So
there's a link to Chris's stuff. So all the stuff we're doing, I know we sound promoty, but we'll have links in the podcast. So if you want to find where we're at and connect with us, we're just out
there.
We're just like self-employed independent musicians. So if you think of your like local friend that lives in the neighborhood that's a plumbing business, owns his own plumbing, that's what we do. We're just that's how we kind of look at ourselves is independent freelance workers. And
but there's a lot less need for what we do.
There is, but there is
no,
there is
a
and
lot
there
of
isn't.
need.
I mean, I think like when you talk about the nursing home, it's kind of reticent of the fact that like music is really important.
Of course,
and I think it gets kind of overlooked. And I'm not just talking about our music. Music culturally is so
undervalued.
So undervalued and so important. So the kind of the goal of this podcast for me has been to not only like talk about what we're doing, but also to like kind of give you an example of like what the struggle and the reality of doing the life that we do is in a humorous way, because you have to have humor. Otherwise,
I can tell you
this is very depressing. So give us a story.
I don't want to. Here's the thing. I don't want to throw people on the bus.
Well, here. I can always edit. I can blank the names out if we have to.
So yeah, right. Oh God. I mean, okay, just a general thing. Touring musicians are valued. Local musicians are not, and that's a thing
that's true.
I feel very strongly about. We do, obviously, about paying local musicians to do things, and I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. At not normal, regular people that know nothing about the business. The people that are in the business.
Yeah.
Saying these people don't get paid. These people get paid. And again, it's not about throwing anybody under the bus, but to me, it's shocking.
Yeah.
It's radical.
Yeah.
The idea of paying people for their time.
Well, the reality is that people look at what we do through their eyes that aren't musicians in a way that's, I mean, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but for instance, people that are not musicians can look at musicians and say, man, they get to have fun. Mm-hmm. So like, why would they need money for that?
Right.
But you don't understand that like how much work and effort and drive and honestly, the 1 hour show we get to play
that's the most fun.
Yeah, that is the most fun.
The 1 hour fun.
And it takes us hundreds of hours to get that 1 hour show. Mm-hmm. Like hundreds of hours not playing music to get that 1 hour show to sound good, to look good, to feel good. And if it isn't good, you still put hundreds of hours in it. There's so much work crafting this thing.
Yeah. And
that's what people don't understand. But regardless of all of that, it deserves to get paid. It deserves to get funded.
Well, and also there's years of work, so it's like it's in this kind of guise of like you're paying your dues. I'm like, what? I'm paying my dues still? What?
No, me paying my dues was
20 years
going to music school and paying literal money.
Yeah, it's
no. I mean, obviously there is obviously there's something to being to establishing yourself within the professional framework of being an artist. And I say it widely like that because there's not one way that people do that or make a living at that. Yeah. However, there is I agree with you. I think there is a place that says like, hey, listen, enough with the nonsense. I'm not playing at I'm not, if I wanted to play for free,
Yeah.
I could do that easily.
Yeah.
So to have a show where I promote and bring people to your venue, let's just say for instance, there's no reason that shouldn't be compensated fairly. And furthermore, if you're just playing at a brewery providing background entertainment or entertainment of some sort, same thing. I mean, but we have to kind of advocate for that, unfortunately.
And it's a hard business because it's never black and white.
No, it's
not. But, you can choose to do things or not do them,
But what's the point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so this specific incident was through the nonprofit. The whole mission is to pay musicians.
Right.
So I was kind of like, what's happening? I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
Because there's grant money, there's sponsorship, there's all that stuff that you can get. But we were starting at zero.
Right.
So it was just kind of interesting. And it's just really, I think it's just a backwards point of view that we've all inherited. Even our own musicians, we've inherited that idea of like, oh, okay, well, these touring guys, they're great. Well, they deserve money. You know what I said? These touring guys should donate their time. If anybody should donate their time, it's the millionaires.
Well, a lot of the times, that level, for sure.
This particular person was very wealthy.
For sure, like that's,
and it's no shade on anybody.
And that's different. When we say touring, like there are literally the guys in a van touring, just trying to make $20 a gig, suffering, sleeping in their van kind of thing. That's a thing. That's different than what you're talking about.
No, yeah, it was just like a level of like, oh well, this guy's going to present and this guy's not, are also going to present, but this guy's higher up, and I just. Yeah. In a positive way, I want to break down that barrier too.
Right, I feel that. Well, I feel that, and I'll also say that like what you say is correct. Like, okay, so this is one of the things that's very hard about being a songwriter or musician, and I'm sure a lot of other musicians would probably feel similarly, but you kind of tapped on it. Like, touring artists get the respect, local artists do not, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with talent, honestly.
No.
I've literally played with, run sound for, know tons of artists that tour that are fine. They're fine artists, and they're making a living, or not making a living. Sorry, they're making a go at the touring thing.
Yeah,
right?
And we support that.
And we support that. Period. There are varying degrees of levels of talent. Obviously, just it's art. It's like there's not everybody's going to be Bruce Springsteen, right? So, however, those artists do get a certain level of, I've seen it, a level of respect and accolades just by the fact that they're touring.
Yeah, and maybe
even if they're making $20 a night.
Maybe that's one of the reasons.
Which is interesting because it's like, as a local artist, that's all you want,
right? Is
to tour, and essentially you're saying like, oh, I want to make less money, but get more respect,
right? And you want to be heard.
You want to be heard, but I'm really not. I'm trying to say all that with total positivity because it's like, I have literally seen artists 15 years ago that I was like, what in the world? How is this artist touring? And then I see him 15 years later and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
They were still working it out, Yeah. And that's okay. Like, you have to get through those.
You'll get that on the road.
You'll get there. And not everybody's art is for everybody, too.
Right,
that's the other thing. It's like, I've seen that too, where I'm like, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. But they have a following. Cool. That's all that really matters. Like, if you can build your community, that's really the most important thing.
Yeah, I talked to Becky today about it. I was like, this person, I don't think their music's that good, but they're doing this and this. And she's like, well, and I was like, it really doesn't matter. We know that. But you're comparing yourself constantly.
Continually.
And it's like, well, I've been doing this song, and this person's been doing this song, and they got this prize, and I don't have that prize.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not juging the music, but it's hard.
It's hard to not, it's hard. And you went to art school. I went to music school.
Yeah.
We both did both of those things, art and music. Well, you did art and music. I did music in high school pretty intensely. Mm-hmm. And middle school intensely. And we've been around enough high competitive levels of artists to see how they. So this is one of the things that bothers me. I will say this is like probably the biggest thing, right? I've been around a lot of sports lately because of Lindsay's son, my girlfriend's son, and it's awesome to see him very successful. But he's he's on that very high level of competitive sports, right? Like, he's going to the D1 thing, the whole thing.
Yeah.
All that aside, totally aside from that, I see other people and the way that there's a darkness sometimes to like these coaches, to these other parents, and it permeates sometimes. It gets so competitive that it bleeds over into these other aspects. And I feel for these kids because it's like, they're trying to like do this thing that they love. To make a small example of what I'm talking about in music, because it happens in music too.
We're lucky that the idea is not competition.
But we have to remind ourselves of that.
Right, but the sports, it is the whole point.
The whole point is, but what I'm saying is the negative aspects of that sport when you get these like toxic culture.
Yeah. Obviously,
and that's not it's not everything, obviously. It's just I've seen some of that.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of music.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh yeah, that happens in like when we were growing up, like doing the youth symphony or the youth jazz ensemble. Those places that kind of was there too. And it kind of triggers me. I'm like, whoa, like that movie, Whiplash. I'm like, I can't watch that movie.
Is it realistic? Did you watch it?
I didn't. Well, I can't watch it. It's like, I've seen clips of it. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard great things about it.
It's good.
J.K. Simmons is like amazing actor,
he's great.
And his dad was like a band director,
right?
So, and he's from Columbus, Ohio. So, yeah,
was he a musician?
He was a little bit, but not like his dad.
Crazy.
I don't think. But yeah, so that like, and that's cool. No, it might not make any sense to anybody why that kind of a thing and experience would be like. My phone went off. Sorry. Why that kind of a thing would be any kind of triggering, but. Just like anything in life, if you have, I wouldn't call it trauma necessarily, but formative experiences that maybe aren't super positive.
Yeah.
That you just accept because you're like, well, this is just how it's done. Later in life, when you're doing those things, you're going to be like, why does that make me feel this way? And that's kind of what that does for me. But, so I've really worked hard on myself to try to like, be a person of positive impact and put that forward to other people. And it's very hard. It's very hard because we're always looking at ourselves and we're always comparing ourselves to everybody else. And so we marginalize, we bring ourselves down, through bringing other people down sometimes. But, at the end of the day, like there's a difference between like healthy venting and what you really feel and think, So it's always like my initial feeling is this, take a beat. Okay, this is what's a more healthy perspective to have.
Well, it's the difference with reaction versus...
Yes. Triggered reaction versus like calm response. Response. Collective response.
Reaction versus response.
Yeah.
Which I think was a Lucas Nelson thing that I was listening to him on a podcast.
Interesting. I believe
reacting
that.
is like, I'm mad. And then response is like, wait, I'm mad. That's the feeling. Now I have to like... Oh yeah, perspective.
It is super healthy to, I think, for people to acknowledge their feelings and then like figure out how to process them correctly. And I don't know. Anyways, but music is just it's such a wonderful thing for me. It's done so much positive for me too. So that's really where I want to exist and live. And that other space is just like I'm always trying to navigate like how I can. I don't know. How do you exist in this place where you're going to have that stuff, right? But like anytime we meet touring acts, like I know there's going to be certain things that about them. I mean, I don't presume that, but you just experience it. It's like, oh, okay, that's a thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the move your music forward.
Yeah.
Plug.
Please plug it all the way.
The last couple workshops we had were very just circular. Not circular. It's gonna sound really, but we're all sitting in a circle. We're all talking it out. It's like a therapy session, and I don't mean it to be for therapy, but it's kind of cool, like that idea of like just all of us sharing their opinions and perspective, and there's some good things, there's some right things to do, whatever, but most of it's just like this is how I worked it, and this is what worked and what didn't work. And, I've heard back just the last workshop, just the positivity and like, oh, this is so cool.
That's really
I've
great.
been looking for this kind of community.
It's really great.
So it's like community resources and helping each other because we're in this black hole all the time of, like you said, some terrible blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I
agree.
I was also listening to Theo Katzman right before I got here. Have you listened to him?
I have not. No.
Man. So his whole thing, he's from Wolfpack, but he has his own recordings. He did some stuff with Caleb Hawley, a bunch of songs with him.
Yeah.
They co-wrote together. He was talking this whole thing, which was kind of new to me. Not that new, but basically his whole thing now is recording live. And so he does his records live. They're just performances.
Yep.
And he's like, he said basically, I challenge musicians to do this because he was saying like, it's all for him. It's about self-love. Like listen back, just do a take and then listen to it and like be able to accept that. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Conceptually. Yeah. He said, I'm not against like doing comping. I'm not against all that stuff, but he was saying his journey, he was like, I just want to get to a place where I love myself and I can listen back to us playing.
Yeah.
And that exact event, what we recorded, was like, that was cool. And I was like, that's interesting. And it's what it used to be. But he was watching the Beatles documentary. He's like, that's the record. They're playing the record right now.
Yep.
So it's interesting because, and then he talked about like how, that part's out of tune, and the guy that he was with, he's like, yeah, but all your other notes were in tune. So like, we know you're good because everything was good except that moment. I was like, interesting. That's the thing I've not heard before. And then he also talked about chops, like. He's like, a guy will go, and you'll kind of be like, okay, I can see that guy can do that. It's not really impressive. But then you'll see like a guy that's like going on the edge of what he can do. And it's like more interesting, and like you can see that he's like getting a level where it's like almost too far. And you're like, oh, that guy's like really in that thing right there. I was like,
Interesting. Yeah, I think...
What do you think about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's very interesting because I was never a chops guy. Like, I wasn't like the flashiest or the quickest or whatever, but like I was always trying to feel. And I think that's probably because of our dad, I'm sure. Like, the way that we kind of ingested music from him was feeling, right? He'll say it all the time. I was never the best player, but... Yeah. You've heard him say that a million times.
Discounting himself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. I wasn't really listening to that when he'd say that. I would just listen. Like, when we grew up, I was like... Well, honestly, when we grew up and went to Catholic church and he played piano, and I learned that he was improvising 90% of the time, that was when I was like, oh. Like, the music, neither here nor there, but like... he would take variations and go because he'd have to fill time. And so that was the kind of stuff that was the most impressive to me. I'm like, I don't know, just that thought. It wasn't just the thought of improvising on Catholic church music. That's whatever. Like, but it was actually the fact that he could, he kind of like made all of that normal. Yeah. I never knew that that's what he was doing for years. Right. Until like we got older and I was like, oh, he was never playing a part. He was just making it up. Right. And he just did it so naturally. Nobody ever questioned. Like, I mean, we're talking like Catholic music is like old church music, organ music, old like piano music, not like the more contemporary stuff.
Hymnal stuff. Yeah.
Hymnal stuff. And he would just take it and go. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Nobody ever questioned or...
Pretty cool.
And pretty much all the churches he worked at, he was always undervalued, always underappreciated. Mm-hmm. And so there's another example of like music just not being...
Yeah, he's trying to support his family.
Yeah, and he really believed at the time in the thing, So anyways, I find that very interesting. But for me, I came from a position of like that, which was like, I'm not going to be like everyone else because there's just stuff I can't do. Right. I never thought can't. That was never a thing I thought. There was just certain stuff I didn't want to do, and that was why I couldn't do it. So, but the things I did want to do, I got really good at, on trumpet and stuff like that. So, like playing trumpet for me, and so I've talked to Scott Brown about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's like, it was because I haven't thought about trumpet for a long time, but he was like, you were always the guy that could just... chops for hours. You could like hit all these notes above everybody else and like fast and all this stuff.
Funny.
I was like, I was like, I don't honestly remember any of that. Mm-hmm. So now I've been sitting down and playing a little bit, and it's been like kind of healing in a different way where it's like, oh, what are the songs I did like playing? You know, and I like the jazz stuff. I do, but I like playing the classical stuff almost better.
Interesting.
Because it's. I mean, I like to improvise a lot. That was what I went to. I was a jazz chair for school and stuff. But I don't know. Right now, I'm like, oh, I really like this classical stuff, you know. And I like the funk. Like I like music like Hoodoo Soul would play. Like I like learning parts like that. That's more part driven.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
It's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And it's also playing with other people, which
Yeah.
So, anyways, but that was why that kind of leads to my bigger point, which is like, you know. So I played trumpet recently, and I was like, hey, you know what? Like at that gig and with Scott and Scabbies, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna do it because it's with my good friend and I trust him, and you know, we were trumpet pals, and it's all kind of full circle, and I was like, you know, this is as good as I've got. I'm gonna give it as good as I've got. You know, it's not gonna be my ultimate level. So there was kind of something to that feeling where it's like you're supporting a friend, they want you there first of all,
Right.
But I don't know if that connects at all to what you were talking about.
Well, that's the Scabbies project that you played.
Yeah.
CD release, was it?
Yeah, that was their album release. They were opening for, what was the band called?
Oh, I can't remember.
I forget.
It's like a legacy ska band.
Yeah, we're going to just put it up in the frame
Chiron.
here. And they were really great. I never really came from the ska world, but Scott did, and it was really cool. So
I was just listening to No Doubt today.
Oh, yeah. Well, that world became
Well, it came from that world, so.
Yeah, those trumpet players, or that trumpet player.
So, I don't know. This has anything, but the Return of Saturn, that was like my favorite album that they put out,
That was a great album.
and it was produced by Glenn Ballard, who wrote and produced on Thriller, like 3 Michael Jackson records.
Very interesting.
I just found that out today. I was like, that makes sense, and he also co-wrote and produced a lot of the songs on Jagged Little Pill.
Nice.
Which is like one of the most highest selling records of all time.
Yeah.
But I was like,
she's got a whole career off that one album.
I was just listening to that Return of Saturn. I'm like, this is so good. It's good now. It's still good.
Well, I've heard that they're getting back together for like reunion tour.
I know, that's kind of why I was like, ooh, I've been going on this nostalgia trip. I'm like listening to 311, listening to No Doubt.
And I mean, Gwen Stefani, man, talk about like
her voice is so good.
Fall from Grace. It's like,
I can't listen.
I don't know why she did the pop stuff because, like, honestly, 3 Doubt was a band built for her. Like,
No
she
Doubt,
was,
yeah.
It was No Doubt.
You said 3 Doubt.
3 Doubt.
311 Doubt.
I'm losing my mind. No Doubt was a band built for her. I feel like it was like the perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't know. It's rare that there's the reggae world. I think everybody knows this. It's very rare that there's a female lead singer.
Really? Yeah.
Very rare. I mean, you can...
Hyrie.
If you think of the modern reggae artists, yes, there are a few. Hyrie. Is it Hyrie or
No,
Hyrie?
Hyrie.
There's
a band called the
Silent H or not.
There's a band called the Skints.
The Skints? Okay.
Who I would definitely
No Doubt.
think of No Doubt.
Yeah.
Because they're very similar.
There was a band we ran from New York City. I can't remember
Article
her name.
Sound System?
Well, Article Sound System. That's another one. She's definitely great, and she's kind of got that No Doubt vibe.
Okay.
There's another band from New York City that played with Ayaterra that has a female lead singer, and I will put the link for that in this.
So that's like what, 4 bands?
That's like 4, but I mean, like, just historically, if you think of like Jamaican reggae too, like Rita Marley, obviously did some stuff. There was obviously like the I3, the backing group for Bob Marley. They're all female singers and incredible. And there are lists of women singers, like,
sure.
But I'm just saying in the general, it's not equal. It's not like 50-50 men, 50 women. So, anyways, when I see a really powerful reggae female singer, I'm like, yes, let's get more women involved in this because it's and I think the Skip Marley her thing kind of helped. I mean, that might help drive some of that a little bit more because she is so good at a variety of styles. I mean, obviously the soul side, but the like doing that reggae vibe works for her. And she's got a couple tracks that are reggae vibes.
Yeah.
Beyond
Slow Down
with Skip Marley, but then she's got her own. She's got a few of her own songs that kind of have that vibe, which I really love.
Do to me.
Yep. Tiana Major 9. Oh, yeah. She's not a reggae artist; she's a soul singer, but she has a reggae track.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we got to just get women more women because I love female singers, and it seems like in reggae it's just so much more male dominated. So
right.
Unfortunately.
Well, and that kind of soulful thing gets lost.
It does, and I think that coalescence of reggae and soul just makes a lot of sense.
Obviously, I mean, Gwen had some soul to her.
She did.
She kind of. I was listening today. I'm like, all right. There's like soul. There's like punk rock.
She had some grit.
There's like old jazz, that little vibrato-y jazz thing.
She had the grunge a little bit.
She's got some grit.
That's the problem. Like,
she's multifaceted.
That's why that era was so effective. It came out of grunge. Like, I mean,
yeah.
What I mean, don't mean is not inspired by, but it came out of that era of grunge.
Yeah.
Those punk kids. Those were like punk kids. And so, like, I think if you tried to start a band from the 90s like that today, it wouldn't work as well because it was a moment. Like the Bradley Noel thing was a moment.
Man, he was so good.
You know?
The cool part is that I'm listening back to these bands. They're all like, and I think this is kind of how Andy Shaw Band kind of started, at least in my brain, was like, and I think now we're trying to do, which I like, is like more of a rootsy reggae thing. But
yeah,
all those like reggae rock bands, like they weren't really reggae, but they were all taking influence and mixing it into their own thing. So like 311's not really reggae.
Correct. Yeah.
No Doubt's not really reggae.
You're right about that.
Sublime's not really reggae. None of them are using one drops. Like
you're right about that.
They're all like punk. It's like a punk rock reggae.
And that's that age group. Like that. Those are people that are 10 years older than us, at least. Yeah. 10 to 15 years older than us.
It's cool because
we come out of a different era.
You'll hear elements, but he's doing like, or there's like a distorted guitar, and it's like, what is this?
Yeah,
it's cool.
It is cool.
Listening back, I'm like, this is cool.
I still think too, like,
it's original.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people know when a band is doing something authentically original, and when it's like, oh, this seems derivative or it seems misplaced. But yeah, I think what we're trying to do is create something that, I mean, it always goes back to, for me, something that that makes you feel something. But not something that's like just surface level, not just I'm at the beach or I'm, which is also awesome. But like I listen to those bands, I love those bands, but I do not.
You don't resonate with
thrive at writing that type of music.
Right.
That's not for me. If it doesn't mean something, if it doesn't feel, then it's not real. And for me, and so that's kind of what we're trying to do. But also like, being so far into this, like there's no rules now. It's like what do we want to try? Let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's try that. If it doesn't work, we don't have to keep doing it. But at least that's where I want to go with music, is like what brings me fulfillment, joy, what is fun to play, what is fun to be playing with other people. Mm-hmm. And then after all that, it's like, oh, cool. And it happens to actually make us more of a career or get more listeners. That's cool too. But I don't put that. I was talking to somebody about that recently. It's like a lot of bands, and there's something to this too. Not discrediting this, or would I never do this, but there's something to like just recording songs and putting them out. Just recording, put a song out, record, put a song out, to just see how people react to those tracks.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. That's a method. You can see if people are like getting traction by the streams and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, some of my favorite tracks on a lot of albums are the ones that are the least streamed.
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to have a balance of that, because there is this place in our world where it's like, objectively, is what we're doing just not good? Or is it just not hurt? Or is it just okay? Or whatever? Or is that something that's just to be left in a subjective tense, of like, that person likes it, that's good. That person, we don't need them,
Yeah, well, Theo Castman was talking about that. Like, it's like, I don't know how to make Instagram followers. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But, and the guys in the industry are like, you got to get your Instagram up. And
I know.
And he's like, how are the ticket sales? And they say, it's sold out. He's like, well, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
His concerts are sold out all over the country.
But that is the method of those. That's where I think a lot of the management and labels are now. I mean, that's just a talking point at this point. It's like, like, cool. Do you have to? If the tickets are sold out, no, you don't have,
So
you don't have to do
that.
anything. Matter of fact, don't do that, and let it get more.
He was saying
special,
and they were saying you're not going wide, you're going deep, and I mean
that's great.
It was like he's like, I don't care, man, if 1% of people like me, but they really like me in their lifetime.
That's correct. We've said that. We've said that a million times. So we don't need everyone to like us.
Right.
Like a long time
There's
ago.
a lot of people out there.
Yeah, our goal was just to like, our goal still is literally just like wherever we go to play venues and get just 200 people in a city.
Right.
There's how many millions in Cincinnati? I can get 200 people in there.
Right.
200 people that like what we do. That shouldn't be too high of a bar.
Right.
It's just a matter of, at some point, it's the disconnection. Like, how do you connect with those followers? Mm-hmm. Those people that'll become your friends and fans and family. You know, it's like, and I see that at Dank House happen, and it's to me, it is a true example of building something from nothing, because it was never a venue, but they had the view of saying, hey, we want to do reggae bands.
Yeah.
That's all we want to do, so we'll just do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're doing 12, 15 shows a year, but they're all in the same vein. And I'm seeing a lot of this community building because we've run sound for enough of these artists that have come back 2-3 times where I can see at least how the growth is happening. And it's pretty fantastic to see. I mean, it's like, it's a bastion for that genre, because there is no place that there's not a lot of places where reggae is just specifically focused on at a venue anymore.
Yeah.
So, but I love it. I think it's great. Mm-hmm. That's all we're trying to do is find someone to listen to us. But it is, it's cool. I mean, Joey Harcum is also another guy that's coming soon, and he's been killing it. And he's a great example of a guy that doesn't have, he kind of exists with the one, he's what we're talking about, like No Doubt, kind of having these other things. So he was in a reggae band before, but his band now, it's his songwriting and his band, and it kind of teeters on that reggae line. But it also is supported by a lot of that same community.
Yeah.
So the Bumpin' Uglies people are like good friends with him, and all these kind of Maryland-based bands, Baltimore-based bands. So, anyways, if you haven't checked him out, check Joey Harcum out. He's awesome music and an even better dude. Really, really, really nice guy. What else do we have to talk about? We have no format to this yet, so that's what will be coming, is a format. I mean, maybe. I had a idea of like asking questions at the end to end it or something, but I didn't think of any questions. So,
asking questions of what?
Like we ask each other. I don't know. We know everything about each other, but nobody knows. What are the questions we get? We already went through that last time.
Right.
What are the questions we wish? How about this? What are some questions we wish people would ask us? Can you play at my quinceañera? I want to pay you $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the question we want the most. No, I'm kidding.
How much money do you want?
Yeah, how much money do you want?
Right now.
If I could write you a blank check right now, what would the amount be?
Wait, blank check would be $0.
No, they sign the check and they give it to you. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Actually,
I'd fill it in.
Somebody did that at a gig. They wrote it.
No.
They gave me a blank check.
They didn't know it, though.
Or he did it on purpose.
What'd you put in the amount?
$10,000.
No, you didn't. I was gonna say you.
No, wait. I'm thinking now. It was blank, and then he was like, I think he said, just fill it in. I was like,
just choose an amount.
Yeah, it's when the house has a white grand piano, but no one plays piano in it.
Oh yeah.
But then
one of those.
Then he paid me, and then I texted him. I think he ended up Venmoing me or something. And then I texted him like, "Hey, this was not what we agreed upon," because it was more.
Yeah.
And of course I'm that honest for some dumb reason. But yeah. But he was like, "No, take it."
Jeez.
I thought that the guy was too drunk. That's what
I see.
That's what I thought. I'm like, I think he overpaid me.
I see.
I wanted to be honest about it. Just like the Wendy's guy last night who said, "I don't know how to work this card machine. Just take the food." And I said, "No, I'll pay cash." I don't know why I did that.
I usually just say, okay.
In hindsight,
it's Wendy's.
I know it's Wendy's.
How many burgers fall on the ground throughout the day that they just toss?
Or they put on your bun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, true.
What questions? I don't know.
Well, let's talk about this. I have a question. What are some of the goals that you have for yourself and also the groups that we're playing in?
There's goals.
Yeah. No, I mean, just like in the next year, where do you want to see yourself? What do you want to see yourself doing?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to release some singles, but man, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to find a box of money one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some singles out. We want to get that music out.
Well, maybe we can ask anybody that is listening, even if it's 10 people. We would love feedback about the podcast and what you'd like to hear us talk about, but also more specifically, if you could let us know, would you help fund a Patreon for us? Because we've never done it and we're not sure if we want to do it or not.
I like the format a lot.
I do too. And it is work. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that. So we don't want to do it if it's going to just be our mom is the only patron and we're, we'd like to, but we're just curious if that'd be a thing, because some of the things we struggle with the most are, like Chris said, recordings, which we're always too slow at, and it's expensive. That's why a lot of the reason.
You want it to be good.
Right. Two, like just trying to get by day to day and do art for that thing. And we do full-time music, and it would be very challenging to do a traditional job in addition to music, because we already work like 100 hours a week. So, but point being,
it's really hard to. I've been doing shifts. Washing dishes. It's very hard to actually fit that in.
Yeah.
Because I'm teaching lessons twice a week, so I've got a slew of 11 people coming into my house and in and out, and I'm doing all the scheduling.
Right, you're hustling.
So it's like,
But this isn't groveling. We're just literally
that's
asking
the realistic point of view.
If there's a Patreon possibility from anybody, because we really would love to start that and do this podcast on the regular. And we're looking for feedback, even if you want us to play a couple songs, or if you want us to have some people that we interview, because I think that is something we're going to do, is interview some people.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
But yeah, I think, I'm looking forward to making more music, making more new music, trying to just keep focused on that. And then also try to get on the road a little bit. Here and there. It doesn't have to be for a month at a time. It could be a week at a time.
Yeah.
And to try to, I think part of the thing I missed most before COVID is the touring, because it was never really about getting thousands of people in a venue. It was always about the experience of the road and the healing that kind of does for you as an artist, to have some outside perspective, people that don't know you, that you meet, that you...
Yeah, well, I can tell you about my experience, too, because I literally just played on the road, which wasn't a tour. It was... I have a friend two friends that live in New York, upstate, and one of them works at a really bougie campground.
Yeah.
Basically, Airstream trailers that are all decked out. It's kind of cool because they're made in Ohio.
Yeah, it's really cool.
They're custom made for this venue, and it's a campground like you would see anywhere, but it's very nice. It's in the woods. But I just that little experience, my friend works there, so she hired me to play the night, and then she hired me to play the next morning for a wedding vendor event, and it was just so cool, and it just gets you out of your zone, it gets you out of your 100%. Comfort zone, it gets you out of... No one there's heard you, except, obviously Becky and them were there. But even Jessie hadn't heard me. She was like, I've never actually heard you play.
Wow.
And, there's people there that just, that they don't even know you're traveling. At that point, they didn't.
Right.
So it was just happened to be very just cool people that were there, and there was a couple there just watching,
Yeah.
And and one of them tipped me a gift certificate to a Japanese bakery, which was kind of interesting.
Oh.
Chinese bakery, and it was in New York City, so I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But that was cool.
Next time you go back.
Yeah, it was just interesting, and gets you out of your whole thing, because you're just you're in your routine, and you're like,
I agree. Yeah, we need more of that, more getting out and experiencing the world, because it's isolating sometimes. Give me a second.
But yeah, just that perspective, and then you meet people, and they're all new people, and you're connecting on a real level, like we want to be doing. So, I own a yoga studio. I'd love to have live music. Literally, I had 3 people tell me, and I'm like, well, I'll come back, but they didn't know I wasn't from New York. But
well, that's the thing. You're building friends and family, and not building family, but you're building friends, and people are people everywhere you go, right? You learn something about
yourself. What's the Eric Nassau song?
There's people everywhere. We love Eric Nassau. Everywhere. We love him. It's great.
I love that song. Check out Eric Nassau.
Yeah, we're just... But that's kind of our goal, is to keep spreading our music. And I know personally for me, doing the touring thing, seems like dribble and to some people like, oh, why even do it? You make a living, and there are truths to that, but there are some things us as artists do that might sound stupid or be stupid, but it's because that what helps us be creative.
Yeah.
It's like, we have to have life experiences to be able to have something to write about, and it's really important. So it's just a weird living we do, but well, thanks for listening. We're going to try to do one of these, I don't know, roughly every week. If we can keep on that schedule. We are getting into our busy season, so we will see, but there's more to come, and hopefully we didn't totally bore you today. I was talking to you.
Peace out.
Hopefully we didn't bore you today.
Yeah.
So we will see you next time. Thank you.
Peace out, Tupac.
Jesus.
That's the Conan. You ever hear him say that?
No.
He'll say, peace out, Tupac. You're like, what?